Hi there, it's Carol with Carol B Crafts. Today we'll be doing this adorable little card from the Lilypad Lake bundle. This is my team swap for the month of June. Now I'll be doing this video a little different than I do my class videos. It's going to be shorter and less detailed, but hopefully you'll be able to replicate this card with no problem. If you'd like to get the supplies to make this card, check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com and get the host code when you do your shopping, and you can earn customer rewards, maybe even a free class kit. This is the Lilypad Lake stamp set, and this is the Lakeside framelets that go in the bundle, and I'll put that number on the screen for you in case you want to pick this up. And we'll be using both of these today, along with some of the beautiful Tropical Escape 6x6 DSP. And you can see just how beautiful this is and how festive and bright, colorful, very summery, very tropical. And then it has a little more muted on the back. Lots of pink there for our flamingos. But we'll be using 2 sheets. I have a piece of, with the design going horizontal. It is a 4 by 1 7/8. And then I have a piece of it's a Whisper White with, it looks like a gray line going through it. And it is 4 by 5 1/4. 4 by 5 1/4. And this is going to kind of go on top of this, but first we're going to trim it to make it look like, kind of like the water, the swampy part of the water. Then that's going to go on top of a piece of Granny Apple Green, which I love this green. It reminds me a lot of the Lemon Lime Twist. It is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Now before we, and then it's just going to go on a thick Whisper White card base. And before we use this, we're going to have to put some balmy blue ink on it to make it look like a sky. So I have some scratch paper to keep the ink off of my grid paper, and I'll bring in my balmy blue ink pad, one of our new colors. It's really pretty. I think it's taking the place of our soft sky. And then I have one of our sponges that I've cut. I cut them in sometimes in pie shapes of 8 and sometimes in pie shapes of 6. And I can put that number on the screen for you as well. But here's our balmy blue, and we're just going to dab our ink, our sponge in there, and we're going to just kind of go in a circular motion because we don't want any lines. And where you see these marks, that's going to blend in later. Where it looks kind of speckly, that's going to blend in later. And it won't look as speckly as it does right now. I'm just going in circles, and I don't have to go all the way to the bottom because this is going to be covered up. And that gives me some place to hang on to it while I'm doing my sponging. And you just do it till you feel like it's the color that you want. If you wanted a darker sky, you could do a darker sky. I think that's good. For me, that's good enough. So I'll put my ink away. Okay, so I'm not going to do the stamping in the video, but I am going to tell you what I stamped and how I stamped it. The heron I stamped in, I believe that was Smoky Slate, and I think I stamped it 2 or 3 times. I used my Stamparatus and got it a nice rich color. And then the sentiment on the front, thinking of you with loving thoughts and prayers, I stamped in Tranquil Tide on regular Whisper White. The heron I stamped on thick Whisper White because I'll be using my Stampin' blends. The Lilypad I stamped in Tranquil Tide as well, and again I did, I think 2 or 3 times I stamped it with my Stamparatus. The sun I stamped in crushed curry. And I didn't put anything in the inside yet because I'm not sure how I'm going to use this card. But if you want to put something else in there, hoping you feel better, or sorry for your loss, or whatever you need the card for, you can put that in there. So that's how we did the stamping. And then once I stamped them, I colored them with my Stampin' blends. I'll tell you the colors that I used. These are the colors that I used, and I used the brush tip. For the bird, we have blue herons here in Florida, and I tried to make it blue and I couldn't, so it looks more gray than blue, but that's okay. So to get it the color that it is, I first put down a coat of the light Crumb Cake. I colored it with a light Crumb Cake, and then I came back over with the light Smoky Slate, and that's how I got that gray color. It gave it a more natural look. The Lilypad I did in Old Olive. The stem is the dark Old Olive. The Lilypad leaves are the light Old Olive, and then the flower is the light Pumpkin Pie. And that's how I did that. So I'll put those away. And then lastly, I colored the sun in with the light Daffodil Delight. So that's how I got those. Of course, I have my color lifter for any mistakes that I made. So that's how I got those. Now we need to do some die cutting. And so I did that kind of ahead of time too. Hope you don't mind. I'll get my dies out. The dies I used were this Lilypad die. This that's like a grass die. And then of course the heron and the larger label. And then I used this die as a guide. I didn't cut it with the Big Shot. I used it as a guide, and I'll show you how I did that. So I wanted to make this part look a little more like this kind of swampy water that we have here in Florida. So I just, this part that's wavy, I put that on in the center, close to the edge. There's like a 1/16 of an inch, and then I just kind of followed the line of the wavy water like that, and now I've got kind of a wave in my water, so I can put that away. I'm done with that. And this sentiment, I used this label for. Let me get my magic tape. So to do the dies, I use magic tape. I put it where I think I want it, and then I use magic tape, or you could use washi tape. As long as it doesn't go over the part that's going to cut, like this that's going to show, keep it on the die itself. So that's ready to run through the Big Shot. We have the circle die. Oh my, I thought I had lost it. I was using it earlier with a different set of dies, and I thought for sure I had lost it. Thank goodness. So I will put this here, and it'll be ready to run through the Big Shot. Get our sun. Move it around so it's where I want it. There, that's good. The Lilypad, same thing. Our heron. Now for the grass, I cut out 2 of them from the Tranquil Tide. Here's the other one. Things are getting lost today. I don't know why. And then for the clouds, I cut out 2 of the thick whisper white. I actually used the Lilypad die to cut out our clouds, and we're going to trim those to make them look more like clouds. And then for the stone here, I also cut a piece from the Lilypad die, and we're going to trim that as well. So let me run these all through the Big Shot. So here's my heron. Get its feet out here. It's stuck. His little legs were stuck in there. And then I have my sentiment, my Lilypad, and my sun. And then of course I've already cut these prior. Now the clouds, all I did was this part down here is my cloud part. So I started here and I just kind of made it kind of like puffy, like a cloud would be. Doesn't have to be any particular way. And then this one I did the same. I gave it a little bit more of a top though. This one has a little bit more of a top than this one because I didn't want them to be exactly the same. And then this one, I actually took the die. You could trim it. You could trim it like this, or you could do what I did, which is really optional. I mostly did it because I wanted to see what it would look like. So I put, this is how it cut, like this. So I turned it around and put it through the die. Whoops. Turned it around so that this side would cut with the and it's this, I'm making it much harder than it has to be. I usually do. So I just did it so that you could see this rounded part. I put it through there so that it and ran it through the Big Shot so that the rounded part would kind of cut the rock. I'm gonna do that right now, but I think I might put a little bit of tape on it to hold it in place. And you can see what we got just by doing that. And you could trim that with the scissors if you didn't want to be bothered with cutting it on the other side with the die. So we have all of our elements now, and we need to do a little sponging. I'm going to get the Crumb Cake and gray granite. So whenever I sponge small pieces, I like to use these eyeshadow applicators. So I'm going to use the Crumb Cake for the to sponge around the little rock or sandy beach part there, and I'm going to use the gray granite to sponge around my clouds. And I'm just doing real lightly here just to kind of give it a little dimension and make it look more like sand. And then I'll do just a little bit of this there, just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. I think I want a little more right here. Okay, don't want to go too much overboard. And then so I'm done with my Crumb Cake. Now I'm going to get my gray granite out, one of our new colors, which I love this gray granite, and we're going to sponge just around the edges of the cloud to make it stand out. Now the cloud that I made puffier at the top, that's going to go on the sides, and the cloud that's a little flatter is going to go right here. So let's go ahead and start building our card. The piece that we sponged is going to go on top of the Granny Apple Green. And then the piece that we trimmed to make it look like water, we'll put the watery part there at the top. Okay, and then what's next? I don't know that there's really any particular order. We can put our sandy rocky spot here for the heron to stand on. It's kind of halfway above the water and halfway below the water. I think I'll put that on with glue dots. I think a couple should hold it. One on each end, if I can get it on there. Maybe put another one on there, just for good measure. And it's about a ½ inch from the edge of the DSP. That looks about right there. And then our grass is going to go here and here, kind of on top. So I think we'll go ahead and put our bird on so that the grass doesn't cover it up. And we'll do that. I've used mini dimensionals to put my bird on. And I have some that are cut in half. And you can cut some in half too for the neck. And down there by the tail. And then for the body, we can use full-size ones. Looks like I need some more. Running low here. So we have the dimensionals, but I'm still going to want to put some glue on the little feet to hold it in place. But first I'm going to take off all of these little backings. And they are sticky. They love to stick to my fingers. That's one thing Stampin' Up! Got right, was their adhesives. Of course they get a lot of things right, but that's one thing they really got right, because their adhesives stick pretty well. So I'm just putting a tiny little dot here on there, on its web feet there. Or not really web feet, but feet. So the feet are going to go here. And then the heron's just going to be standing here on this rock. And there's our heron. Now we can do I'm going to glue this one, and then I'm going to probably put this one on with a one of those mini glue dots. So I'm going to put some glue here in the bigger areas. And you may be saying, there aren't any big areas, but there are. And this glue dries pretty clear, so if there's a problem, it'll fix itself. And that's going to go about right here, but not over the DSP. Good to hold it in place while it dries. And it dries quickly. And then this one I'm going to put a glue dot down here at the bottom. It's going to be covered up by our sentiments, so it doesn't matter if the glue dot shows a little bit. And I might put a little bit of glue right here. There. Because I want it to stick up a little bit and give it dimension. So that's going to be right about there. This leaf should be right there by its foot. Okay, so we have that. Now our lily pad we'll put on with glue dots. Mini glue dots, I think is what they really call them. I'll put one there on that flower. It's going to go over here about 1/4 of an inch from the green, the granny apple green, and this flower is just going to be just above the water level, like that. Now I'm going to put this on with well, I think before I put this on, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the card base while it's still relatively flat, because once we put some dimension on there, it's going to be hard to put adhesive on. Okay, so now we're ready to do the clouds. We have the fatter cloud and the smaller cloud. The smaller cloud is going to go here, and we're going to put that on with some glue dots. Whichever direction you like, about 3/4 of an inch from this edge and about 1/2 inch from the top, just above the heron. And then this one, the other one, the fatter one, I'll put some glue dots on it, and with the fatter part up here at the top, we're going to decide where we want this, and we're going to cut it kind of straight. I think that's about right there, and we'll put this, well, maybe I need another glue dot here to go on the edge. It's going to go about right here along the edge of the DSP, maybe a little bit higher. A little bit higher. Yeah, right there is good. And then this one, I need another glue dot for the edge. It's going to go on this side, kind of between this one and that one. So just kind of go over here between them and put that down. And then we have our sun, which is going to go on with glue dots. And the sun is going to go here, and right in front of the bird and below the, maybe a little bit more there. Just wherever you think. It's kind of setting. I don't want it too close to the bird. And I think that is going to work. This cloud is a little bit lower than that cloud. I think that's what makes it look different, but I don't think it's going to matter in the end. And then, so when I got this card done, I have to do the 4 regular size dimensionals on the back. So this is ready to go on the front, a little bit over the lily pads and over this, and in the center. Okay, I hope you don't have as much trouble as I had getting that on straight. So once I got it all finished, when I was designing it, I thought, that's cute, but it's missing something. It's missing some sparkle. You know how the summer sun sparkles in the sky? When you look up, there's kind of a sparkly look. Well, I thought about what did I have, and I came up with these self-adhesive backed sequins, and these are kind of a really light pale blue. You might even think they were white, and I used 3 of them. I put one here by the bird, the back of the bird, because we try to do the triangle thing. So I put one up here by the this cloud, and then I put one down here by the lily pad, kind of right here. And that gave it just the right amount of sparkle. I don't know if you can see it sparkling. But that gave it the finished look that I was looking for. So now I have some really pretty swap cards to send to my... Oh, I have more to do. I have to do the inside. So for the inside, I have another piece of Granny Apple Green that is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2, and it's going to go like that. And then I have a piece of Whisper White that is 4 by 3 1/4, and it's going to go right here. Okay, so now I have 2 adorable little cards that I can send to my team members for our team swap. If you saw anything today that you would like to purchase, the Lilypad Lake bundle, check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com and grab that host code and shop with that, and you'll be able to earn some customer rewards, maybe even a free class kit. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.